Welcome again, everyone, to the continuation of our topic about freelancing. Now, in this next lesson, let's try to look at certain things that we should not do and some things that I believe you should be avoiding so that you will come out satisfied and happy and properly remunerated for the project that you will be building for your client. I am hoping that learning some of these tips might help you prevent yourself from not being satisfied with the payment that you receive from a project and for you to be able to really maximize your time in projects that will be generating profit for you. I also want you to prevent some headaches that you could have prevented or we could have prevented from the very beginning if we were only aware of some strategies in dealing with future clients and at the same time generate and find out what are the best possible projects that will be generating cash flow into your freelance business, into your future freelance business. As I've said in our previous lessons before, never undervalue your work because your time is valuable. And the benefit of having this mindset is that when you have this in mind, you also get to put yourself in the shoes of your clients. You understand that your time is valuable, then you also know that the time of your clients is valuable. We want to build good relationships with our clients and give them the best value. In return, we also expect them to give your service the value that it deserves. Just remember that not all clients will be a fit for you. There will be a point in time that you might encounter a client that doesn't really value the same principles that you have. So the first advice that I will be giving you in this lesson is the advice to learn to say no. I know that this is sometimes difficult because we don't want to lose a client. However, remember that what you will lose here will also be something very important. And that will be the time that you will be spending in building a project for a client that doesn't give value to your services. This is why it is important to really clarify things with your clients and try to look at the scope triangle that we tackled in our previous lessons. If ever a client doesn't have the budget that is required for a certain project, one of the things that you can do, or one of the suggestions that I usually tell my students, is that you can still try to build the project but with less features. This can be just one of your options, and it will still entirely depend on how you evaluate your skills in building the project and the amount of time it will take you to accomplish the project. I'm saying this, everyone, I'm telling you this, everyone, because I am guilty of being a yes man myself. And this really cost me a lot in this lifetime. This advice will just be depending on the scenario and the type of personality of the client that you are trying to negotiate with. As much as possible, I would highly recommend that you don't accept cheap projects from cheap clients because if a client doesn't value your services and your time, it is better not to engage into any transactions with these types of clients. This is because you will not be provided with the proper value to your service and your time. And this is where communication will really play a big role in your negotiation with your clients. And I just really want you to value your service and never undervalue yourself. I highly recommend that you check out the current market and don't go below the average pricing when you are trying to deal with clients. It is better that you go and get some deals with high-end clients that will give value to your service and clients that will really understand your situation the same way you understand their situation. Just remember, we are building relationships here as much as possible. And just remember that not everyone will be a fit to your services or for your services, and not everyone will also be a fit for your personality. In this way, when you get to understand this, you can now go back to the first advice that I gave you, which is to learn to say no. I would highly recommend that you don't go to platforms such as Upwork and get clients who will not be valuing your services. Try to also screen your future clients the same way they will be screening you. Don't just submit proposals to random clients that will pay you at a low end level. I am telling you this, everyone, because this is something that I personally experienced, especially when I was still starting out in freelancing and it was not related to web development. The job that I was able to get was not related to web development. I just settled for just gaining experience in the virtual workplace and found a job related to posting in forums for advertising a website of a certain client. Back then, I started out in the low end price of $5. However, I was not paid in full, even though I did extra effort in looking for forums and joining different forums and then posting the task based from the instructions of the client. I was able to even program an Excel spreadsheet that I provided to the client for free, no extra fees. I also even suggested to the client that if ever it will be great to have a video explanation of his products rather than us posting in different forums. And it will be better if we advertise his products through a video presentation on what to do when a prospective lead or customer signs up in his website. That was especially when I encountered from where some of his customers were asking for instructions on what to do because they were having troubles with regards to the product. And one of the suggestions that I gave that client was that we should have a video tutorial on what to do if in case the customers have certain frequently asked questions that can be simply answered through a video tutorial. At first, it was really a simple job of posting in forums, but when I started doing the job, I really had to spend a lot of time in the sign up process, in monitoring the forums from where you have already posted, and then the need to go to different websites which already had the same information posted by other virtual assistants. At first, I thought that it was an easy job. However, it really consumed a lot of my time, which really did not compensated me that well. I hope that this will be giving you an idea on how to value your time and especially evaluate the task of a job that you will be doing on whether this will be the most profitable way for you to maximize your time. Now, moving forward to pricing, the advice that I will tell you here is that research is the key when it comes to pricing. Before communicating with the client and drafting your web design proposal, you must first do research and look for current pricing trends. Let's say that a client is in need of a WordPress site. How much does it cost to build a CMS website using WordPress in 2020? This should be something that you try to research about. If you're going to build a simple landing page for a client, you should also be checking out in Google about how much should you price a client for building a landing page for them. Now, if we try to go and check out here, building landing pages, we can see here that the normal cost of building a landing page for a client will be around $75 to $3,000 depending on the design of the landing page your clients wants you to build. As you can see here, so you can go and try to compare the pricing that you will be giving to a certain client, and you already have something to present to them once you have identified that they are interested in hiring you as their developer. So research is really the key here. And we normally have three price range as we've talked about in our previous slides here. We have the low end, we have the average price, and the high end. Low end price ranges from around $5 to $100 price in the freelancing industry. The second pricing will be the average pricing here that will normally range around a few $100s. And the third will be the high end price range that will be around $1,000. One thing to take note is that you would want to be in the average price range when it comes to pricing and not in the low end price range. And of course, it will be much better if you will be able to target the high end price range, which will be probably around thousands of dollars. And one key important factor here will always be the time that you will render in building one project. The number of hours you will render in building a large project that can provide you with a high income, and the number of hours that you will need to render in building small projects and will be providing you with small income. If you assess that the small projects that you will be building or simple projects that you will be building will be much more profitable, then go for it. But if not, and you know that these projects will not suffice in achieving your target financial goals, then go for the other way around, which will be more on the average to high-end pricing. A key take home here will always be how can you make your service profitable on your part and at the same time you provide quality service that can help solve the problems of the client. One key tip when you will be communicating and negotiating with clients will be using a simple, very simple question. This is one of the good strategies that I have learned when it comes to negotiation. This is just you asking a simple, direct question to your client on how much their budget is. Ask them what is their budget for the project. When they ask you how much is the price for building their project, you should ask them what is your budget. The reason why you would want to return a question like this is because there's a good chance that they will say how much their budget is. There's a good chance that it is much higher than what you are planning to ask from them. If they say $1,000 and you are willing to do this job for only $500, then obviously they are the ones who did the negotiations for you. You can just say, okay, we can do this for $1,000 and I can work with that and I can go and start with your project with that amount of budget, within that budget. Just avoid, of course, showing that you're really happy because they will be paying you more than the amount that you would have priced the project based from the experience that you have. And again, don't undervalue yourself. If they are willing enough to pay you $1,000 and you were planning to only charge them $500, then again, the negotiation was done mainly by them. The good thing about this is that it's a win-win for you and the client. Your client will be happy because I'm sure that they had a much bigger budget for the project. Let's say if they said $1,000, but in actuality, they had a $2,000 budget for this project. And inside of their minds, they are saying, yes, he's willing to do this for only $1,000. We were actually willing to pay him $2,000, but we were able to get it down to $1,000. So the customer or your client will feel that as if they were able to save a lot of money in their negotiation with you. So that's one of the tip that I can give you, and that will be to ask them what is their budget. If your client is not willing to disclose their budget, well, at least you can go and try to refer to the average pricing based from the current trends in the market. Don't forget to do your research. This is the most important part of you making sure that you will not be underpaid when you provide your services to a certain client. Now, for the next thing that I would want to tackle here, I'm hoping that that idea of asking what is their budget will be helping you out in determining the pricing for your future clients. And now, in this next topic that I just want to discuss here will be how will you be able to stand out from the crowd? This is very important, everyone. And the first thing that I would be telling you here, the most important service that you can provide to a client will always be you becoming an active listener and a problem solver. I know that selling guys will be something that is not very comfortable for everyone. I myself is not that comfortable with this before. A lot of people are really not that comfortable in selling things and using the salesman's approach. I just want to share to you something that I learned from Sir Luke Siciliano. And he said he's a senior web developer, and he said that some people are natural sellers and some people are not good at it, but everybody can be good at it because it's a skill that you can acquire. It's similar to any skills. If you work on developing it, practicing it, and you really give a lot of efforts in learning it, you will definitely get good at it. And even if you are not that comfortable with it right now, selling your services is really going to be something that you will be able to do. And it's something that you will need to do because you don't have a choice. If you're not good in selling your services and you want to become a freelance developer, you won't be getting any clients and you will end up getting broke. So I would highly recommend that you start practicing selling and improving on it, gathering some marketing strategies on how do you negotiate. These are going to become part of your future freelance business, and that's why we are tackling this right now. If ever you will be taking the path of a freelancer, and if ever, if for example, you have already taken on a job, and you would want to do freelancing on the side, or as I've told you, we should have more than just one single source of income. So it's really good that you have a number of sources of income on the financial education part. One thing that I can tell you, again, this is a skill. Just remember, you can sell and you will get better at it. You just need to practice the conversations, practice the strategies that we are learning here, and acquire more strategies in the long run. Moving forward here, what is the most important service that you can provide to a client? Just remember, once you become a freelancer, you are no longer just a coder, a designer, you're not just a developer, a programmer, you're no longer just building applications. What you're providing to your client for you to be able to stand out from the crowd is you considering yourself as someone who provides solutions to their problem. The idea here, while other developers are stuck in trying to get the business and you are trying to identify the problem rather than connecting to the clients by marketing to them your services as a coder, if you are going to focus more on identifying their problems and you becoming a problem solver, I'm sure you will be bridging the gap of disconnect between business owners and you as the developer. And this is how you will be making a lot of money. If you get to find solutions to the problems of your client, this is how you will be able to, I would say that this is how you will be able to go and build relationships with your clients because you were able to solve their problem. I'm sure that if you understand these things and you consider yourself as a problem solver, I'm very sure that you will be able to stand out from the crowd. You're not just someone who will be talking about your knowledge in HTML, in CSS, in PHP, MySQL, in Bootstrap, and other technologies that are present that you can use for building an application, a website for a certain business client. What you're providing them is a solution to their problem. And this will be something that will really be separating you from other developers who are just showcasing their skills as a developer and not focusing on what is more important, and that is you finding a solution to the problem of the business owner or the client that you are dealing with. Now for our next slide here, how do we sell our services? Normally, we should have the three stages here. We have the initial meeting, the proposal, and the closing of the sales with the client. Now let's try to identify what are the things that we should be doing in the initial meeting. First one, we have to identify the client's problems. We try to look at the business model that they have, try to identify, try to check the processes of the business, identify the type of their customers, know their products and services, and most importantly, be an active listener and take down notes. Make sure that you are in an appropriate venue from where you can cater to the client. I just want to go and set an example for number 6 here, and that will be having an appropriate venue from where you can cater to the client. This is very important that, again, self-motivation factor. If you say that you will be having certain working hours during the day, you need to set a time from where you will be in the office for you to be able to answer questions and concerns of your future clients or prospect clients. Avoid answering clients' concerns when you are not in the office, especially if you're not in an appropriate venue from where you can cater to the client. it's better that you redirect them to voicemail and then call them later on, because if you're going to be answering their calls while you're in an area which is not an appropriate venue from where you can cater to the client, you might end up losing the sales. This just means that it's much better to let the call go to voicemail so that later on you can call them back and you have a good chance of really providing the client your time, your attention, and you can even take down notes when you are in an area which is appropriate for you to really take note of the things that the client is telling you. One good example of this, if you're driving and then you answer a call coming from a prospect client, and result your attention will be divided, it will not be fully dedicated to the customer's concern, and you will end up not having a meaningful conversation with the client. You won't be able to discuss clearly all of the concerns of your client, and we don't want that. Again, it's better to lead them to voicemail and then just call them back so that you can go and have a better chance of closing this sale, because we don't want you to lose the sale because you were driving while you were talking with the client on the phone. So those are just some simple things that I want you to be aware of. Don't try to do other things during your business hours. Try to dedicate your time in answering calls coming from clients during your business hours so that you can really ensure that you can cater to customers who might be interested in hiring you. You need to make sure that you are spending your day in a place from where you can take phone calls. This can be in your office or a specific location from where you are comfortable to answer calls. And of course, don't just give a quote to your client, everyone. Try to familiarize yourself first, again, with all of the things that I have stated here, their business process, identify the type of their customers, try to figure out what are their problems and how you can go bring value to them by means of providing them services that can help them solve the problems that you were able to identify in their business. Now that we have already identified the problems and we have already discussed things with the client, the next thing that we would want to do here is to usually put together a proposal. And this will be at first, it will be a proposal orally, and this will be explaining things to the client. And as much as possible, try to do this in a regular way from where the client will be able to understand it clearly. Don't explain things like you're a PHP developer. You will be writing code in HTML, in CSS from scratch. You will not be using a CMS because those things are not really that important in the client's point of view because they don't understand that. What you want to do during the proposal oral discussion with the client will be to explain to them in a way that they will be understanding how your services will be able to solve their problems. Don't speak technical jargon more than you need to because the client will definitely not understand those stuff. Now, if you're going to start putting up together the proposal in writing, it's really important that you go and spell out specifically the things that you will do for the customer. Otherwise, you will be putting yourself in a disagreement on what you are going to do and not going to do. You really need to put in the proposal the entire scope of the work that you will be providing to the client. And again, that should be in written paper. And remember, anything that is not written does not exist. So the proposal orally that we have here, the oral proposal that we have here, this is important for the client to have an initial understanding of your services, of the project that you will be building for them. However, the contract will be protecting you, the contract will be protecting your client, and it should be stating clearly all of the things that you will be doing for the client. And this will be protecting both of you. This is very important, guys. And again, I go back to one of the things that I learned from my boss in the university. She said that anything that is not written does not exist. So it's important that you really put the things that you have discussed with your client into writing. Now that we are done with all of this, let's proceed to the closing. So these are the three things that you should be closing the deal with. Reiterate the problems, make sure that the problems that you have identified are clear. Then try to follow up with the solutions that you can think of to solve those problems. Then explain to your clients how the solutions are going to be solving the customer's problem, how the solutions that we are proposing will be solving their problems. Now, as a final remark for these lessons, I just want to again tell you my advice is to first keep your regular day job. If you're just starting out, try to get a regular day job. Try to do freelancing as an extra job. This means you are not going to be fully dependent on this one project. And again, one financial tip that I can give you will always be to have emergency funds and try to, if ever you will be entering into the freelance industry, try to have a backup plan, have an emergency fund for operating your business. And if you can do this regularly, that's great. That will be a great deal. Freelancing is really a great deal, and it will be giving you a lot of benefits when it comes to dealing with controlling your time, controlling and managing your time. You also become your own boss, and of course, you will be exerting efforts to grow your own business. That's one of the benefits of being a freelancing business owner. And again, being in the business industry is going to be helping out our community also. You can provide jobs and so on. That's why I'm highly encouraging my students to really put up their own business, because this will not only be giving you financial freedom, but also, of course, our goal is financial freedom, not just the goal of becoming rich, right? We want to achieve financial freedom. And having a business can be something that can help us build build our way to our financial freedom. I'm hoping that you got the idea here. Don't depend on a single source of income, and freelancing can be one of the sources of your income. If ever you will be moving forward and you will be growing your business, you will be putting up your own company, at least you will be able to try to generate passive income out of it by means of developing junior developers. You would want to hire developers also in your industry and teach them how to also improve. And as I've always told my students, share your blessings so that you will receive more blessings. So that will be all for these lessons. I'm hoping you learned a lot in this session. So see you on our next lessons.